Pancake, everyone! Today I'm going to tell you about a land where they don't use outdoor thermometers because they don't even have such cold temperature readings. I'll share how the absolute minimum temperatures for settlements are related to the name Natasha, how to drive a nail with a banana, and most importantly, how people live, learn, and cook in minus 60 degrees. Yes, today's topic is about the residents of Yakutia. And in the end, I'll tell you about a unique discovery from Yakutia that the rest of the world can't boast of. And it's not diamonds. Let's get started. What do we know about Yakutia? It is the largest subject of the Russian Federation. Well, if we look at the area of the Sakha Republic, it turns out to be almost as large as India. India, which ranks 7th in the list of the largest countries. Not bad, huh? More than half of the year there is snow here, and winter lasts from October to April. In summer it can reach up to 40 degrees Celsius, but in winter the average temperature ranges from minus 30 to minus 40. But who cares about the average when here in Yakutia 2 cities compete for the record of the lowest temperature in settlements, excluding Antarctica, Oymyakon and Verkhoyansk. Despite a slight difference of 0.1 degrees, the dispute is fierce. Currently, the Yakutsk government believes that the North Pole is located in Verkhoyansk, while the monument about it stands in Oymyakon, which means tourists go there for photos. Either way, I think you understood. It is very cold in Yakutia, very. And yet people continue to live there. And now I'll tell you more about how they do it. Since we mentioned photos, smartphones with large touchscreens are definitely not designed to work in such freezing temperatures. Often you'll only have a couple of seconds to take a photo before your smartphone dies from the cold right in your hands. And what about cars, you may ask? Well, even at minus 20 degrees it can be challenging to start the Iron Horse in the mornings. It's simple. Those who have a heated garage take their car batteries inside their homes. Some people buy mechanisms with timers that start the car engine every hour for 15 to 20 minutes. There's even a method to combat freezing cars, not turning off the engine since autumn until it becomes relatively warm in spring. But more and more often you can see special insulated covers on the streets of Yakutian cities, simply called Natasha by the locals. It's like a portable garage that drivers carry in their trunk. The car is wrapped in it like a warm blanket, preventing it from freezing overnight. There are different variations available, some with slots for side mirrors, elongated ones for better bottom protection, or with a rubber tube for the exhaust pipe. Inside such a cover you can find anything from synthetic insulation to bamboo fiber and membrane fabric or synthetic down substitutes. The price depends on the materials used, ranging from a minimum of 7,000 to 34,000 rubles. It's a significant cost, so people come up with clever ways to protect their property. Some draw their car license plate number on the cover, while others sew in business cards and notes to make it easier to identify if stolen. But if the vehicle malfunctions or the frost proves to be too strong, there is a service in the capital for thawing cars. They use a tent, a heat gun, and special equipment to start the engine. In small towns and on the roads, motorists often have to find insulated boxes and heat up their cars. So you have started the engine. What's next? Knowledgeable people advise driving a few kilometers on a straight road to warm up the tire rubber slightly so it doesn't break or come off the wheel. And then all that's left is to mentally beg the car not to stall along the way. Because if the car stalls in the night, the only way to save your life may be to set it on fire. It's said to be no joke. Along the road from the city to the settlements, you often come across completely burned out car bodies. Experienced people suggest starting the fire from the back seats and covers, while leaving the tires for the final stage. They burn too quickly. Seasoned drivers carry additional batteries, clothing and food with them, precisely for such emergency situations. Why go anywhere in such freezing weather, you might ask? For the local residents, minus 60 degrees Celsius is a reason to stay home. In the capital of Yakutia, like any other major city, there are shopping centers, cafes and movie theaters. Even artists hold outdoor painting sessions to test their endurance. During extreme cold, they paint winter landscapes and challenge their resilience. The locals even trade at open-air markets. While the fish lies on the counter at minus 50 degrees, the vendor warms mockers, the cash register, and their hands in a small refrigerator. And why not? Thanks to the incandescent lamp installed in the showcase, it's warmer there than outside. In general, life in the Republic goes on in full swing. Hunting, fishing, setting up slides for sledding, chopping wood and organizing exhibitions of ice sculptures. They even build entire cities made of ice. Speaking of construction, how do the freezing temperatures affect this sphere of life? Houses are built on high piles that are frozen into the permafrost. It wouldn't be possible to drive them into the ground. There is usually a 2-meter gap between the ground and the first technical floor to prevent houses from thawing the permafrost with their warmth. And as the locals point out, it's very convenient for shortening distances. You can simply walk under the house instead of going around it. But if the houses are so high, what happens to the utilities? All the necessary pipes are installed above ground, not buried. Again, it's because of the permafrost. And the rest… Yes, like in many other settlements in Russia, Yakutia has outdoor toilets despite the freezing temperatures. Some people insulate them while others provide electricity. But how do nomadic reindeer herders deal with it? As you might guess, they don't have permanent toilets. They dig pits in the snow, far away from the dwelling. To protect themselves from the wind and cold, they have specially tailored bell-shaped clothing. And as for safety precautions, the only thing they need to do is constantly look around and shout at the reindeer to prevent them from eating the yellow snow due to a lack of salt in their bodies. I hope you're not eating right now. But let's change the topic. Yakutia is such a unique place that it arouses interest around the world. Many have seen viral videos of boiling water instantly freezing in the air, turning into snow. In 2020, Galina Davidova's photo project featuring frozen traditional clothing created a buzz. Tourists also come here to witness the northern lights and test the TikTok trend. Is it really possible to drive a nail with a regular banana? Spoiler alert, it is. With the kind of cold experienced in Yakutia, even the softest fruit gains the hardness of metal and no nails can harm it. Of course, such cold temperatures could not but affect the national cuisine. Let's start by saying that permafrost is not a place for vegetarians and health enthusiasts. Yakutia doesn't have a great supply of vegetables and fruits, so the diet consists mostly of fatty, high-calorie meat and fish. They use everything that can be caught in the Lena River and everything that can be raised, whether it's horse meat, beef, or venison. They also eat what is considered offal, including tongues, as a delicacy. But what if a person is not a hunter, fisherman, or reindeer herder? There is always an abundance of such goods in the market, where the carcasses are frozen and eventually sold either whole or sliced into pancakes. This service is very popular in Yakutia's markets. There are even professional slicers willing to come to your house. And if you're wondering how many refrigerators it takes to store a whole carcass, even when sliced, don't worry. In winter, meat is often stored on balconies and verandas. And why not? Sudden warm spells in the middle of January are unheard of here. If you're interested in learning more about Yakutia, you can watch another video on our channel. Now let's get back to the national recipes. The most popular Yakut dish is stroganina. Typically, it is made by freezing freshly caught fish. And what's next? Well, that's it. To serve it, they shave it into thin slices that are dipped in a mixture of salt and pepper. This dish should be eaten before the slices melt. Stroganina is also made from horse meat, but this variation receives less attention. So don't be surprised if you served frozen food in a Yakut restaurant. That's how it should be. In fact, even herring is eaten frozen in Yakutia, simply as a snack with bread. Does the Yakut national cuisine not have anything hot? Of course it does. For example, boiled horse meat is considered very nutritious. They also make a delicate blood sausage from beef and horse blood. And a true delicacy is carp stuffed with rice and caviar. When winter lasts for 9 months, one must know how to stock up on food. And as you can imagine, freezing is not the only method. Yakut people also engage in fermentation. A dish made from fermented fish heads is called velivit. Fermented reindeer meat is called vilketin. And fermented walrus or seal flippers are called viligit. All of this can be washed down with Yakut kumis, a beverage made from mare's milk that is preserved through fermentation. Yes, that's right, it's an alcoholic beverage if you catch my drift. And of course, there's no dessert. Would you like to try something that looks like meringue but tastes like ice cream? Welcome to Yakutia. Kerchech, and that's exactly what it's called, is made from steamed cow's milk. Nothing too exotic. But enough about food. Let's talk about ice fishing. In the lakes of Yakutia there is so much fish that local authorities even welcome its capture with nets as a way to combat overpopulation. Interesting fact: the fish for Straganina must be alive at the moment of catching. In the nets it often falls asleep, and after that it is not suitable for Straganina. Furthermore, serving Straganina made from such fish which has fallen asleep in the nets is considered an insult. So what do the fishermen do first? Did you think they immediately cut holes in the ice and set up nets? Well, no. First they set up a stove and melt snow on it. Tea is excellent for warming up. Only then do they proceed to the actual installation of the nets, which is quite a laborious process that can't be done alone. They need to create about a dozen ice holes, lay the net under the ice, adjust its position with long poles, and cover the holes with fur so they won't freeze. And only after all that they wait and keep warm with tea. Sometimes they also set up tents, but it's quite challenging to dismantle them later when the frost forms even on the inside. Only skill can help with that. And if someone decides to spend the night in a tent in such cold, they can't do without special sleeping bags. It would also be good to have a stove, but some daredevils manage without it. They joke later that the most challenging part is getting out of the sleeping bag in the frozen tent and starting to dismantle it. So you might ask, how should one dress to lead such an active lifestyle at minus 60 degrees Celsius instead of lying under a blanket? I'll tell you now. With the advancement of science and technology, many tourists are saved by thermal underwear and down jackets. But what do the Yakuts themselves wear? Local residents prefer fur, and in general they follow the rule: the closer to the body, the more natural the material of the clothing should be. That doesn't mean you can wear a synthetic down jacket on top of 2 pairs of long underwear, woolen socks, and sweaters. Synthetic fabric will most likely stiffen in the cold. That's why local residents wear sheepskin coats and fur-lined coats. If they wear down jackets, they're filled with natural down. They wear reindeer or horsehide boots with felt soles, and they wear several pairs of woolen mittens layered on top of each other. They even make clothing from horsehair, first and foremost insoles and vests. And again, they can't do without new technologies. Heated insoles appeared, they put them to good use. In such conditions, when you dress up like a cabbage, the nose and face are often prone to frostbite. Yes, in such cold even the eyeball hurts. Tears instantly freeze on the cheeks, leaving marks on the skin. And if you don't protect your facial skin, even a weak stream of moist air can lead to frostbite. Even a scarf, which is often used to cover the face from the cold, can freeze and stick. And then you have to literally tear it off the skin. And if in the past people used badger, goose, or bear fat to protect themselves from such low temperatures, now more and more people rely on special protective creams. What? You wouldn't go to such harsh conditions? Well, Yakutia is a center of tourism. And it's not surprising. Just imagine, amidst all this cold, there are bodies of water that don't freeze. And all this happens because of the permafrost, which expands due to the cold and displaces underground lakes, turning them into non-freezing springs on the surface, which amaze tourists. That's what gave the city of Oymacon its name. People usually go there to bathe in thermal springs and pamper themselves. Let's finally discuss a truly important question. Yes, even in such cold regions, children eat ice cream outdoors. They probably wouldn't do it at minus 60 degrees, but in September, at minus 30, they happily devour ice cream for fun. They even say it keeps them warm. And since we're in the topic of children, what about schools? In America, children may not be sent to school if there is black ice on the roads in the morning, or if there is so much snow that the road markings are not visible, even if the temperature is around minus 3 or minus 5. But in Yakutia, a winter morning starts with listening to the radio. Maybe they'll say that there's no need to go to school today. In the past, this happened at minus 50 degrees and lower. But now they've changed the system, and elementary school students are excused from attending school at minus 45. However, adults still go to work no matter what. If you have your own car, it's one story. But not everyone has a car. These people have to rely on public transportation. And to prevent them from freezing, Yakutsk has warm bus stops. These are insulated pavilions with windows, seating, electronic displays, and the ability to charge your phone. And for those who've made it to the end, I have an interesting fact. In 2012, unique mammoth remains were found in Yakutia, which are unparalleled worldwide. You might say, well, there are many mammoth skeletons in various natural history museums, especially in large ones. But the uniqueness of Yakutian discovery lies in the fact that mammoth remains were found here with preserved soft tissues and a DNA chain. This allowed scientists to dream of creating a clone of a real mammoth. Attempts are still ongoing, but who knows, maybe one day we will witness the appearance of a real mammoth, even if it's from a test tube in a zoo. That's about it. I hope it was interesting and you learned some new facts to amaze your friends.